So the Lakers tied it up. The Lakers came out like they had something to prove, and honestly, they did. After dropping Game 1, they walked into Game 2 with way more focus and intensity, especially on the defense. That opening stretch said it all. 9 straight points to kick off the game. And they weren't just scoring. They were making life miserable for Minnesota. The Timberwolves had to call a timeout after LA went on a tear that turned into 23-6. That kind of run doesn't happen unless you're absolutely locking things down on both ends. And that's exactly what the Lakers did. Right after the timeout, Gabe Vincent hit a 3 that just deflated the Timberwolves even more. The Lakers weren't letting up, and Minnesota couldn't get anything easy. That lead kept ballooning, and it forced Minnesota into low percentage shots and broken possessions. When Anthony Edwards finally ended the Wolves' scoring drought with a 3, it didn't really change the momentum. The Lakers' defense stayed smothering, with every shot Minnesota took feeling like a desperate attempt. Jared Vanderbilt capped off that first quarter with a huge defensive stop right after Gabe hit another 3. That had the Lakers up 19 heading into the second quarter. You could feel the confidence starting to settle in. The Timberwolves opened the second with 4 points, but the Lakers didn't flinch. Even with a couple missed assignments and some slower rotations, they were still clearly in control. Naz Reid got completely erased from the scoring column, and to make matters worse for Minnesota, he picked up his 3rd foul before doing any real damage. Luka was doing what he does, getting buckets and keeping Minnesota in it almost by himself. He scored repeatedly, and even had Rudy Gobert looking out of place more than once. Julius Randle put up 10 in the second, but outside of him and Luka, there wasn't much help coming. Edwards added 4, which made him the second Timberwolves player in double digits, but the Lakers didn't seem too concerned. Still, the second quarter wasn't perfect for LA. They started backing off defensively toward the end of the half, letting the Wolves creep in with 8 unanswered points. That 22-point lead got chopped to 15 by halftime, which wasn't ideal, but it wasn't panic-worthy either. The Lakers just needed to tighten things up again. The third quarter started with a whole lot of nothing from both teams until Edwards threw down a dunk over Jackson Hayes that got a reaction. The refs decided to get involved too, blowing whistles every other possession it seemed. Hayes was one of the casualties, picking up his 4th foul, even though he'd barely played 7 minutes. Minnesota used that small opening to cut into the lead again, but LA responded. After a timeout, Luka banked in a shot, but the Lakers came back with 5 straight points to go up by 18. They stayed aggressive, pushed the tempo when they could, and made sure Minnesota couldn't get comfortable. The defense really stepped up again in the back half of the third. Minnesota looked rushed, throwing up shots that had no real chance. The Timberwolves tried one last push before the quarter ended, but the Lakers held firm and went into the fourth, up 16. Now the fourth quarter wasn't exactly pretty. Austin hit a jumper to start, but then Hayes picked up his 5th foul, and the offense just vanished. The Lakers went 6 minutes without scoring, and Minnesota smelled blood. They scored 10 straight points, and suddenly, LA's lead was down to single digits. Not great. Then Austin found LeBron on a fast break for a layup that finally snapped the drought. From there, it was all about defense. The Lakers didn't score a ton in the final minutes, but they didn't need to. They just made sure Minnesota didn't either. With 3 minutes left, LA was holding a 9-point lead, and while that's not exactly a fortress, it was enough with the way they were defending. Then came a turnover by Luka, which led to LeBron stripping Edwards and scoring a floater. After that, Luka got a tough layup through traffic, but it was already too late. The Lakers had sealed it, winning 94-85 and evening up the series. Now let's talk numbers, because there were some pretty strong performances hidden inside this grinded out kind of win. LeBron logged 40 minutes, which is wild considering the pace of the game. He scored 21 points on 8 for 19 shooting, which isn't the most efficient night, but he added value everywhere else. He only hit one of his 5 shots from deep, but he was perfect at the line, going 4 for 4. He pulled in 11 rebounds, 3 of those on the offensive glass, and dished out 7 assists. Toss in a steal, a block, and a plus-minus of +9. And it was another well-rounded game from him, even with 4 personal fouls. Austin Reeves led the team in minutes with 43. He scored 16 points, hitting 7 of his 14 shots. He couldn't buy a 3-pointer, 0 for 6, but stayed steady with 2 makes from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and a block rounded out his stat line. He also had 3 turnovers and 3 fouls, but his plus-minus was +8, which tells you he was part of the solution all night. Luka did Luka things. 31 points on 9 for 20 from the field. He only hit 2 of his 8 shots from long range, but he went a perfect 11 for 11 from the charity stripe. That efficiency at the line helped keep Minnesota in the game. He grabbed 12 rebounds, 11 defensive, and had 9 assists. He also had a block, 4 turnovers, and 3 fouls. His plus-minus led all players at plus 12, and without him, the Timberwolves would have been cooked by halftime. Rui was solid in his 34 minutes. He scored 11 points on 4 for 9 shooting. Didn't hit either of his 2 threes, but made all 3 of his free throws. He pulled down 5 defensive boards, picked up 2 steals, and even blocked a shot. 2 turnovers and 2 fouls, plus a plus-minus of plus 2. Nothing flashy, but steady. Hayes barely played, only 9 minutes, but managed to score 2 points on 1 for 2 shooting. He snagged 1 offensive rebound, blocked a shot, but got into major foul trouble with 5. 1 turnover too. Somehow, he had a plus-minus of plus 6, which was kind of hilarious given how little he played. Dorian Finney-Smith came off the bench and logged 39 minutes, basically starter minutes. He hit 3 of his 6 shots, including 1 of 3 from deep, and scored 7 points. He didn't get to the line, but he collected 5 rebounds, including 2 on the offensive glass. He handed out 1 assist, blocked a shot, didn't turn the ball over once, and finished with 3 fouls. His plus-minus was plus 5, and that kind of efficient, low-mistake performance really matters in these kinds of games. Gabe Vincent didn't have a big stat line, but his 2 3-pointers came at important moments, and his 6 points helped keep LA's momentum alive early. No rebounds or assists to speak of, but the timing of his shots mattered more than the volume. The team's overall approach in this game was about control. They didn't have crazy highlight plays, they didn't blow the roof off with offense, but they took over the game with defense and didn't let go. They stayed active, communicated well, and didn't give Minnesota much breathing room. Even when the offense sputtered in the 4th quarter, the defense made sure they stayed ahead. This was a numbers win. Everything about it says they outlasted and outworked the Timberwolves. They needed this one, and they got it by sticking to the stats, playing tight defense, and leaning on their veterans to get them across the finish line. But watching this game, I want to talk about a few things. And first is, when Luka has a big first quarter, the Lakers are so much better. When Luka scores 15 or more in the first quarter, the Lakers don't just play better, they transform. Their offense jumps straight into overdrive, averaging 46 points in the opening period in those games. That's not a small bump. It's 12.3 points more than their usual average of 33.7 in the first quarter. It's like a totally different team shows up. The kind of team that doesn't waste time warming up. They come out swinging. And it's not just a flashy scoreboard thing. The advanced numbers back it all the way up. In those same games, their offensive rating hits 132.4 compared to their average of 116.7. That's a massive leap. You don't just stumble into numbers like that. Luka's shooting in these quarters has been unreal too. His true shooting percentage sits at 68.4% in those strong starts. That kind of efficiency in the first 12 minutes, it's almost illegal. What that does is force defenses to completely rewire their plans early, and the ripple effect benefits everyone wearing purple and gold. When he catches fire right out of the gate, the defense has no choice but to sell out early, and the Lakers feast. Now look at their record when he starts hot, 7-1. That's not just solid, it's elite. They took down Denver with a 120-108 win behind 21 Luka first quarter points. And Dallas couldn't recover after a 45-point Q1 explosion led by Luka's 16. The pattern here isn't subtle. When Luka turns up the heat early, the Lakers don't just play better, they almost always win. It's like he lights the match, and the whole team turns into fireworks. The first quarter scoring margin says it loud. They're plus 14.2 in those games. 14, that's a full-blown cushion, not just a head start. And what does that do to their win probability? It shoots up by 32.6%. Those are numbers you take to the bank. If your team's getting an extra third of a win chance just by having one guy go off early, you ride that strategy until the wheels fall off. The shooting around Luka benefits just as much. When he's aggressive in Q1, the Lakers' three-point shooting in the first half jumps to 42.1%. Normally, they shoot 36.8. That's a significant bump, and it's not an accident. Defenders collapse on Luka, the ball swings, and suddenly guys like Finney-Smith, Vincent, and Neck are drilling 10 out of 17 from deep like it's a layup line. That's what happens when one player warps the floor like Luka does. It's geometry turned weaponized, and those open shots don't come without control. Luka's passing in these games gets a boost too. He's averaging 4.7 first half assists in games where he lights up the opening period, up from his season average of 3.2. That's a big jump, and it's clean too. He's running a 3.5 assist to turnover ratio in these games. His average is 2.1. That's not just better, it's surgical. He's threading passes while avoiding mistakes, and the Lakers ride that control straight through the half. Now let's talk defense. Yeah, we're talking about scoring, but the impact bleeds over into everything else. When Luka goes nuclear in the first, teams are forced into early adjustments. Like in Game 1 against Minnesota, Luka dropped 16 in Q1, and by the second quarter, the Timberwolves were doubling him on site. That's not just a win for Luka, that's a win for everyone around him. Role players start finding open looks, and the Lakers' open three-point rate in those games climbs by 8.3%. It's like dominoes falling in LA's favor. The transition game shifts too. In games where Luka starts hot, the Lakers only give up 8.2 fast break points. Normally, they allow 12.1. That might not sound like a lot, but it adds up. When Luka's scoring, opponents can't run. The ball's going through the net too much, and that takes away transition chances. They're stuck walking the ball up the court, and that gives the Lakers time to set up their defense. The whole game slows down in LA's favor. Let's dive into the on and off splits, because that's where the real magic shows. With Luka on the floor in those monster Q1s, the Lakers run a net rating of plus 18.6. Offensively, they're scoring at a rate of 131.2. Defensively, they're holding opponents to 112.6. That's a major gap, one that you don't close unless you change something big, and most teams can't. He's creating such a wide margin, they're drowning in the wake. Rebounding? He even shifts that too. In these games, the Lakers post a rebound rate differential of plus 12.3%. That's 55.4% compared to their regular 43.1. The team's just more active, more dialed in. It's like Luka scores 15 in Q1 and suddenly everyone else decides they should try harder, and it shows. On both ends of the floor, they're grabbing misses and turning them into more chances. That playoff opener against Minnesota, the perfect case study. Luka ended the night with 37 points, but it was that 16-point Q1 that really set the tone. The Lakers were plus 7 while he was on the floor in the opening quarter, and then when he sat, minus 22. The entire game flipped. That's how central his early energy is. When he's out there scorching, the team's in control. Take him off, and it's chaos. There's also a serious shift in tempo when he gets rolling. In games where Luka scores big in the first, the Lakers average 102.2 possessions per 48 minutes. Their season average, 98.7. That may sound small, but in basketball terms, it's night and day. Faster pace means more opportunities, more points, and more pressure on the other team. It's like Luka scoring early unlocks the gas pedal for everyone else. And let's not overlook shooting efficiency. Their effective field goal percentage in these games climbs to 58.9%. That's 5.4% better than their average. Again, this isn't about one guy getting hot. It's about how that changes everything else. Defenders react to him, spacing opens up, shots start falling, and the Lakers hit a rhythm that's hard to stop. So when Luka comes out firing in the first, the numbers say the Lakers don't just benefit, they thrive. It's a domino effect of offensive surges, defensive control, rebounding spikes, and overall game dominance. It's not some magical coincidence. It's what happens when one guy warps the game from the very first possession. And the Lakers, to their credit, have figured out exactly how to ride that wave. But besides that, the Lakers are going to need more from Rui. When Rui gets involved and actually takes shots, more than 10 of them, the Lakers look like a different animal. They've won 22 out of 29 of those games this season. That's a win percentage, just under 76%. But if he plays and decides to turn into a wallflower, shooting fewer than 10 times, they're stuck at a flat 14 and 15. That's a real dip. Now here's the part that smacks you in the face. In the games where Rui shoots between 10 and 13 times, the Lakers go 21 and 3. That's 87.5%. You don't mess with that kind of efficiency. He doesn't need to jack up shots nonstop, just enough to keep defenses honest, and suddenly the whole team starts cooking. Now let's talk about the playoffs, where apparently Rui checked out early. In Game 1 against Minnesota, he took 4 shots. That's it. And surprise, surprise, the Lakers lost by 22. His offensive impact was basically invisible. His aggression, or lack of it, matched the team's flatline energy. He didn't take a single shot in quarters 2 through 4. Not one. That's not just quiet, that's why is he on the floor quiet. Here's the big issue. Rui's volume isn't just about him. It's about the whole team's flow. When he's looking to score, defenders have to rotate, cover more ground, and that opens up everything. His career playoff average, a limp 6.8 field goal attempts per game. That's not going to cut it. Not when every possession matters. The Lakers need that number up fast. And it's not like he's some unreliable shooter. This season, Rui's been clean, over 50% from the field, over 41% from 3, and 77% from the line. He's hitting 1.7 threes per game too, all career highs, and his true shooting percentage, 60.8%. That's third best among all Lakers who've played at least 50 games. That's not fringe contributor stuff. That's legitimate firepower being left on the shelf when he's passive. Minnesota sniffed that out fast in Game 1. They dared Rui to do anything. Spoiler alert, he didn't. 0 points in 22 minutes. They sagged off him like he was invisible. Doubling Luka and LeBron, every chance they got. Rui could have punished them from deep. He should have, but he didn't even try. From the second quarter through the end, he took 0 shots. That's a spacing disaster. When the defense doesn't respect you, it's a traffic jam for your star. Rui has to make them pay. He's a 41% three-point shooter. If he's standing open and not shooting, he's wasting possessions. And when defenders run at him, he's more than capable of putting the ball on the floor and finishing. Just look at his 20-point night against Houston, 10 for 14 shooting. That kind of line changes the game. That's what the Lakers need. Not hesitant Rui, but engaged. Let it fly, Rui. It's not just offense either. Rui's defense might be the most underrated part of his value. This season, opponents are shooting just 40.8% when Rui's the primary defender. That's 6.6% below their average. No other Laker, with at least 50 games played, has matched that. He's locking guys down one-on-one, and it's not just guards. He can switch 1 through 4, and he's held his own against big names. He held Anthony Edwards to 5 for 15. That kind of flexibility is gold in the playoffs. But none of that showed up in Game 1. Rui was flat. Defensively, he let Jaden McDaniels drop 25 on 11 for 13 shooting. Naz Reid got 23 of his own. Rui wasn't contesting anything. That's the worst version of him, and the Lakers can't afford that version in this series. He's got to show up on both ends, because when he's active, he glues things together. When he's not, they unravel fast. Look at the numbers when Rui shares the floor with Luka. That pairing has a net rating of plus 12.3. Offensively, they score at a 120.1 rate. Defensively, they're at 107.8. That's elite territory, and it's not just stats. LeBron's vouched for Rui too, calling him a rhythm guy who can create his own shot anytime. That trust means something, but it only pays off if Rui actually tries to score. In Game 1, that trust evaporated. Rui was nowhere. So Luka and LeBron went into isolation mode. They dropped 56 points combined, but the team only totaled 15 assists. That's not winning basketball, it's just grinding. The ball stuck, spacing died, and defenders were free to crowd the paint. Rui's absence in the offense choked everything off. They've got to run more pick and rolls with him, get him involved as a screener, or popping out to the mid-range. He shoots 47.1% on long twos. That's a shot defenses hate, giving up. And here's the thing, this isn't new. Back in the 2023 playoffs, Rui was a weapon. He averaged over 12 points a game on 56% shooting during the Western Conference Finals. In Game 1 against Denver, he dropped 29. He was attacking, finishing, spacing the floor, everything the Lakers needed. That version of Rui, he helped carry them. The version from Game 1 this year, he was just standing around. And that drop isn't just his problem, it's the whole team's. When Rui scores 15 or more, the Lakers are 15-2. That's not a fluke. That's the kind of stat that tells you exactly what the ceiling looks like. If Rui is scoring, the Lakers become a nightmare. If he's hiding, they're just another team. So what's the takeaway? He doesn't need to dominate the ball or force up junk. He just has to stay aggressive, take open shots, cut hard, and stay ready to pull the trigger. And on defense, same story. Lock in, switch confidently, and contest every look. His size matters too. At 6'8" and 230 pounds, Rui has the physical tools to match up with Minnesota's wing. But size only helps if you use it. If he lets guys like McDaniels and Reid get comfortable, the Lakers are toast. Rui's got to play like a starter, not a role player in denial. All the signs are there. The shooting percentages, the defensive metrics, the lineup data. When Rui is involved, the Lakers go from beatable to borderline unfair. And with Luka and LeBron carrying so much load, they need Rui to lighten the lift. That means volume, that means effort, and that means confidence. There's no trick to it. Rui doesn't have to reinvent himself. He just has to play like the guy he's already shown he can be. The Lakers' entire postseason depends on it. If he's aggressive, spacing improves, assists climb, pace quickens, and the defense gets help. It all starts with him deciding to show up. So here's the bottom line. When Rui plays like he belongs in the playoffs, the Lakers become a problem nobody wants to deal with. But he's got to stop disappearing and start demanding the ball, because the numbers, they don't lie. And they all say the same thing. Rui makes this team go. And also, another thing, the Lakers need to continue to dominate the first half like they did tonight. When the Lakers come out of the gate strong and dominate the first half, they don't just take control, they slam the door shut before their opponents can even grab the handle. This season, when they lead by 10 or more points at halftime, they've won 32 out of 38 games. That's over 84%. That's not a trend. It's a statement. When they're up early, they don't look back. And when that halftime lead climbs to 15 or more, forget it. They've gone 18-1 in those games. That includes torching Oklahoma City with a 78-56 halftime lead, tying the franchise record for most threes in a half with 15. The final margin in that one, 27. Total demolition. But it works both ways. If the Lakers are behind at the break, they're a totally different team. They've only won 9 out of 30 games in that situation. That's a 29% win rate. It's like a car that runs perfectly until you try to start it uphill. They rely heavily on that early momentum. When they don't have it, they struggle to manufacture it later. The contrast is sharp, and the numbers spell it out. The offensive side tells the same story. In those games, with strong first halves, their offensive rating jumps to 122.4. When they're trailing, it drops to 112.7. That's almost a full 10-point swing. It's not a fluke. It's rhythm, pace, and shot making. And the shot making is serious business. In those games, they're knocking down over 41% from deep in the first half alone. They went 15 for 30 from beyond the arc in that Oklahoma City game. Luka's gravity had defenders scrambling. Another underrated piece, pace. The Lakers average 102.2 possessions per 48 minutes in games with dominant first halves. That's quicker than their season average of 98.7. You're seeing fast breaks, quick outlet passes, and transition buckets, mostly fueled by defensive stops. When the defense locks in early, they get out and run. That early tempo wears opponents down before halftime even hits. Speaking of defense, that's where things get nasty, in a good way. When the Lakers lead by 10 or more at halftime, they're only allowing 105.3 points per 100 possessions. When they're trailing, that jumps to 116.9. That's a massive difference. In those strong first halves, they're cutting off passing lanes, contesting shots, and rotating fast enough to force mistakes. And it's not just the stars doing all the work. The role players have been stepping in and stepping up. Guys like Dorian Finney-Smith and Gabe Vincent dropped a combined 6 threes in that OKC first half. That kind of production from the bench shifts the whole game. It rewards the stars for drawing attention and punishes defenses that try to cheat off anyone. When the whole rotation is engaged early, the Lakers look like a complete unit, not just a couple of guys dragging everyone else. Luka sets the tone early. When he puts up 20 or more points by halftime, the Lakers are 14-2. That's all you need to know. He creates a storm that the other team can't weather. And when Luka's rolling, the team's net rating in those halves spikes to plus 18.6. That's domination on both ends of the floor. LeBron's part in that can't be overlooked either. In those same games, he's shooting 58.3% on 2-pointers in the first half. He's usually playing off Luka early, letting him attack while LeBron picks his spots. Then, in the third, he starts heating up. That 1-2 rhythm has worked all season, but when the first half goes wrong, things unravel fast. Look at Game 1 against Minnesota. The Lakers went into halftime down 11 and ended up losing by 22. The whole thing snowballed. They let Minnesota hit 21 threes and gave up 25 fast break points. That's not just bad, it's collapse level bad. And it started with a second quarter meltdown where they were outscored 38-20. That's not playoff basketball. That's letting your opponent punch first and never responding. Coach Redick didn't sugarcoat it either. He pointed directly to their lack of physical readiness in that second quarter. Minnesota took control while the Lakers were still blinking. That loss exposed exactly how much the Lakers lean on their early game energy. When it's missing, they don't just fall behind, they fall apart. And in the playoffs, that kind of hole is almost impossible to climb out of. This whole season has shown the same pattern. The Lakers' average first half margin in wins, plus 14.2. That's not a coincidence. That's their blueprint. Get the stars rolling early, hit shots, lock in defensively, force turnovers, push the pace, build the lead, and then protect it like it's Fort Knox. The role players matter just as much in that equation. When the bench contributes early, whether that's knocking down open threes, playing tight defense, or moving without the ball, the Lakers feel deeper, tougher, more complete. Those first halves set the tone for the whole night. When they come out hot, they don't need miracle fourth quarters or Herculean efforts. They just control the game. The ball has to move, threes have to fly, and the defense has to communicate. When they bring that regular season first half dominance into the playoffs, they're a nightmare to deal with. The numbers don't lie. When they're up 10 or more at halftime, they win over 84% of the time. When they're down, just under 30%. That's not a minor gap, that's a canyon. And it all comes down to how they show up in the first 24 minutes. The Lakers have the talent, they've got the shooters, they've got the defense, but none of it matters if they don't come out swinging from the jump. So if they want to go deep in the playoffs, there's no mystery here. Dominate the first half, hit your threes, push the tempo, lock in on defense, and don't let up. Because when they do that, they're not just good, they're overwhelming. And nobody wants to be on the wrong end of that kind of momentum. Overall though, so now that things are tied up, here's what sticks out. And it's not subtle. The Lakers don't need some magical formula or mystery boost to win. They just need to play like the version of themselves that already exists. The version that shows up when Luka's aggressive in the first quarter. The version that actually uses Rui like a weapon and not a cardboard cutout. the version that treats the first half like it matters instead of easing into games like there's some kind of warm-up buffer. That version is dangerous. When Luka sets the tone early, it's like the rest of the team gets pulled into orbit. His confidence spreads. The spacing changes. Guys move better. The rhythm gets real. And it's not about him needing to score every time. It's about him creating the kind of environment where everything just works. That quick start shakes up the other team, tilts the energy, and hands the Lakers control of the narrative from the jump. You can see it happen. You can feel it in the tempo, in the ball movement, in the shot quality. It's a different pace, a different mood. And if they lean into that instead of waiting for something to click later on, they're a juggernaut. But that only works if the supporting cast buys in too. Rui, for example, isn't just filler on the floor. He's a necessary part of the equation. The guy's built like a tank and shoots like a sniper, but sometimes he fades out, like he forgot he's allowed to be involved. The Lakers can't afford passengers in the playoffs, not when the margin for error shrinks to nothing. Rui has the skill set to change the dynamic every night. If he's involved early, spacing gets better, defenses hesitate, and the big names get room to breathe. He doesn't have to play like a star. He just has to play like someone who knows his impact matters. And none of that matters if the first half is sloppy. This team can't play from behind. That's not me being dramatic. That's just what we've seen all season. When they're in control early, everything clicks. The defense is tighter, the effort's higher, the role players are more involved, and the stars don't have to force the issue later. But when they trail at the break, it turns into a grind. The flow dies. The ball sticks. It's not fun to watch, and it's not how this team wins games. So the real challenge isn't about finding some new identity. It's about committing to the one that already works. Start fast. Get Luka rolling. Keep Rui involved. Lock in on the defensive end early. That's the blueprint. That's been the blueprint. This team doesn't need a miracle. They need 48 minutes of buy-in, because when they bring that first half energy and stick to the game plan, they're not just a playoff team, they're a real threat. And if they can hold on to that mindset, this series, it starts tilting in their direction fast. The question isn't whether they can do it. They've done it plenty of times. The real test is whether they'll stick with it, whether they'll keep attacking the way they did tonight, whether Rui keeps shooting, whether Luka keeps setting the tone, whether the bench shows up early and not when it's already too late. If all those pieces fall into place again, then this tide doesn't stay tied for long. Because here's the thing, the Lakers have already shown what they look like at their best. They don't need to prove it anymore. They just need to repeat it. And if they're willing to do that, if they're ready to bring the fight early and keep their foot on the gas, then good luck to anyone standing in their way. If you guys enjoyed this, I'll be posting every day during this playoffs. I genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.